Hi, my name is Jack Billy. I'm Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs in Medical School at the University of Michigan and also the leader of our efforts in lean thinking called the Michigan Quality System. I wanted to chat with you today about the use of A3 problem solving. This is a technique we use in order to help folks approach difficult problems that they find at work and use a really systematic approach to trying to solve them. So what I'd first like to do, though, is start with a question for you. I want you to think of a project that you had in the past that didn't go well, that failed. And I want you to just take a minute and think about why that happened. I want you to think of a specific problem or project and think about why it failed. Okay, you got one in your head now? So having asked a lot of people this over the years, we find a lot of things come out when we ask this question. Sometimes projects fail. We often hear because of the lack of resources. Sometimes because of communication problems. Sometimes we'll hear that people didn't agree on the goals. Or sometimes we'll have unclear expectations. Sometimes projects will fail because of information system problems or because of poor planning. We'll often hear people say that not everyone was on the same page. One of the common themes about this is the lack of agreement. In a lot of projects that don't achieve the results that we're hoping for, people really don't have complete agreement on what the problems are. They don't agree on which problem they're trying to solve, where things are now, what their goals are, what the causes are, what they would like to try, and who will do what next. And so one of the tactics that we use in a lean organization in order to overcome these challenges is called A3 thinking. And so I'd like to go through what this is. Essentially, we use a 11 by 17 piece of paper, which I've essentially drawn on the board here. And we try to use this as a systematic template to think about problem solving, to have people approach the problems in a very consistent way so that no matter how difficult or big or small the problem is, they can use the same approach, think about why it's a problem, what causes it, and what they'd like to try. After they've thought about it, they can share that with other people and try to reach agreement as to what is causing the problem. So I've just drawn up here a simple model of an A3. We actually encourage people to use whatever categories make sense for them, but often it has the categories that I've listed here. We have a title for the A3. What is the problem we're trying to solve? The owner. Who owns this problem? Who's the person who's responsible or has the most responsibility to try and improve this area? The date, because we expect that this problem-solving model is going to change over time. It's going to continue to evolve. And then we have generally 5 to 7 categories, and I've chosen some here based on the most common ones that I use. We start with the background. Of all the problems I could work on, why is this the most important problem I should work on now? You're going to use this in order to encourage other people to help you solve this problem, to build consensus around this being something worth working on. Then we go into what's called the current situation. Where do things stand now? If we want to build a ladder between where things are now and where we'd like them to be, and we need to know how long that ladder is, we're going to have to know exactly where things stand now. How bad is the situation? How is the work done now? Is it getting better or worse? Sometimes we'll use a value stream map, a series of boxes that portray a process as a version of the current state. So on some of these, and I'll show you some examples in a minute, you may see a series of boxes or a chart in which things are getting worse over time, or percentages of defects that occur in a particular process. The next section is goals. We want to be specific. What would we like things to look like for us to say that this problem is better? We might say a 50% reduction in the rate of defects, or shortening the time to the delivery of a particular service, decreasing the cost, decreasing the errors that occur in the patient process. Those would be specific examples. We try to be specific by what percent, to what level. The next section is analysis. This section includes all of the factors that you've learned as a result of going to the real place where this work takes place, talking to people about what they think might be causing the problem. And here we use a technique that you may have learned about in Lean, 5 whys. That is asking why this problem has happened, and then when we get to a factor, why that factor happens, keep tracing it back to the root causes, something that we can intervene on. And if we're able to overcome that cause, then this problem will get better. There may be other parts of analysis, constraints. You may have charts and graphs in there as well. But the left-hand side of this A3, the background, the current situation, the goals, and the analysis, relate to our deep understanding of the problem. You notice we haven't talked about solutions or countermeasures yet. That'll come in the right-hand side. We want people to spend most of their time thinking about this side of the A3, that is deeply understanding the problem and trying to understand the root causes. That helps a lot with the right-hand side, trying to solve the problem. So now we'll move up to the upper right of the A3, and there's generally a section that includes what ideas we have to overcome this problem. We use the term recommendations, options, strategies, countermeasures, alternatives. There's lots of different descriptors because sometimes we have several options. In fact, we generally recommend that people list more than one option here. That facilitates the dialogue. So when I'm presenting this to someone else, we can talk about, well, you've listed 2 or 3 different options. Tell us about the pros and cons of those options. So some of the examples for these recommendations could include to develop standard work for a particular process that has a lot of variability, or to build a collaborative with another unit to talk about developing a shared process between 2 different units where they're handing off the work. Then comes the specifics. That is the plan. So a plan means we know what's going to be done, who's going to do it, and when they're going to do it. This is not so we can point the finger at folks and blame folks when things aren't done, but it's so that we have a really, really clear expectation of exactly what's expected. So we have specific steps here. They might be particular meetings where someone will develop a rough draft of a standard or protocol, or a particular person will meet to try to get the resources that are needed to implement the solution or to reach agreement. So the plans always have what's going to be done, who's going to do it, and when. And this is a key part of the A3 because when we get back together again, we'll be able to walk through the plan. And if maybe step 1 is going well, but step 2 isn't going so well. So we'll be able to ask why and see what we can do to help the person who's assigned that in order to accomplish the goal. And then the last section I usually include in an A3 is follow-up. When are we going to get back together again to talk about this? You ever worked on a problem and for some reason the problem just seems to disappear and folks never meet about it? This is one of our countermeasures against that particular difficulty, where we state when we'll get back together and what issues we'll be able to address at that time. So as you can see on what we write these up on an 11 by 17-inch piece of paper, and on one piece of paper we have the entire statement of the problem. This makes it easier for me to understand where my problem solving needs help. Do I not know enough about the root cause? Do I not know where things are now? I need more work on the current situation. Is my goal fuzzy? Do I have good strategies that overcome the root causes? And do I have plans that will help me implement the strategies? Once I've done this for myself, then I show it to other people, the people whose agreement I need in order to get this problem solved. And so I will present to them and walk through my A3. It generally takes about 10 minutes. I'm able to walk through it from start to finish. I give a copy to the other people, and I present the A3 through to them, and then they can give me feedback about where they think I could improve my plan. Maybe they have thought of some additional root causes, Or maybe there's part of the goal that they don't agree with. Or they may have other ideas about strategies. Or I may have included them in the plan and they don't think they're going to be able to do it. The whole purpose of the A3 is to smoke out that disagreement so that we can find out where the problems are likely to lie in our plans as early as possible. Otherwise, we have ambiguous expectations. I think someone's going to do something, and you think I'm going to do something a week from now. If we don't have it written down and we haven't agreed to it, when it doesn't happen, we're left in a state of confusion. So lean thinking is a lot about making problems visible and having clarity. And so that part can come through the A3.